So the next topic is Manchester United just just going past Brentford at Old Trafford with a 2-1 victory. Of course, the main man Scott McTominay scoring both of those goals at injury time. I think the first one was in the 93rd minute, and the second one was in the 97th minute. So, as a fan, while I was watching the match, I did not think that we'll be able to get anything out of it because we've seen such games with United this season and the previous season as well, where we are facing a team that plays in the low block, and we don't have a way to create chances and scoring goals. And this was a prime example of one of those games where not only that we didn't score goals, but the chances, if you look at the stats, we barely made anything out of the whole game. And again, like Brentford, they had one chance and they scored, which was, well, there were a few errors. Casemiro played a wrong pass. Lindelof could not clear. And of course, Andre Onana still looking shaky, still looking like he's under a lot of pressure. You can criticize his technique. He didn't go down in the right fashion that any goalkeeper would. But I think the guy is in a lot of pressure because he's he's the main man for Manchester United, and every week we always tend to criticize every single mistake that he's making, and quite rightly so. And I think that is piling on to a point where he's not he's not getting into the frame of mind where he would be consistent. And also, like, when your goalkeeper is shaky, I think that reflects on your team as well, because you need to trust your keeper at the end of the day. If you play for a football club, if you're on the field, you need to know that you trust the number one, the goalkeeper. And if he is letting goals in, it sort of like it falls on the team as well, where it affects the defenders, it affects how you play. And I think that is something that is happening in Manchester United. Looking at the few matches that we've played so far, um, so a couple of things. Firstly, not being able to create a lot of chances. If you look at our goal difference, which is in negative, it shows we are not scoring enough goals. We had that same problem last season as well, but defensively we were good. This season we are not. And secondly, the moment we score, we concede as well. So which means there's a lapse in concentration. There's a lapse in the discipline that is supposed to be on the field in terms of whether it's controlling the ball, maintaining the shape. We are very inconsistent. We are not being able to play consistently over 90 minutes. And that's why it's been a very, very bad start for Ten Hag. And I know that a lot of people are criticizing him for, maybe it's from the perspective of the players that he signed or the way he's playing. But lucky win for Manchester United. I think Scott McTominay scoring two goals was necessary, because he is only useful when we are playing against a team that plays low block. And he's the only, along with Casemiro, he's the only other guy in the team who can score a header. And it was one of the situations where the only way we could actually create a chance was to either cross or just overload in the Brentford box. And we got lucky. I mean, if you look at both the goals, at least in the first one, Dallo took the shot. The goalkeeper, I think he could have done better. He could have palmed it
Yeah.
away, but he fortunately palmed it to Scott McTominay, which was not easy to take. So, but he controlled and took the shot. And the second one was also, again, like an assist from Harry Maguire. When was the last time we saw that, right? So again, like, it was almost something that you would not expect out of these two. Again, like, these two are players that Eric Ten Hag wanted to get rid of, so that's a bit of a funny situation as well.
You
That
don't want to save his blushes this weekend.
exactly. So, but yeah, I want to start with Manchester United, and maybe I'm a fan. I do have my reasoning around what is going wrong and how things can change, but from both of your perspectives, and I'll start with the Bong Scouser. I think in our WhatsApp group you said that somewhere when we were 1-0 down, that if we lose this game, Eric Ten Hag needs to be sacked. And I want to talk to you about that in terms of what are your thoughts on the bad form, and why do you think that sacking him would be the right choice for United? if we don't improve, that is.
Yeah, because see, I think if United lost the game, so I think they would fall very far off the top four. Okay, and that is the minimum target I think this season for Manchester United, as well as for any other club, right? So in that context, I felt that he should be sacked. And one more thing I have constantly pointed out about Eric Ten Hag is that I don't think there is any visible philosophy so far in Manchester United's game. Okay, I don't see he seems a bit confused. I don't see him stamping his authority on the game, right? So that's where I think United are lacking. Okay, I don't know where the noise is coming from. There's some noise, right?
Yeah, there's some feedback that is coming right now.
Is it okay?
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah. So shall I start from the beginning?
No, no, you can continue. You don't have to start from the beginning.
Yeah. So I think he has not really stamped his authority in United's game. I know that they've had some good results last season, but even then, I think there is something missing in United's game. I don't see there is a style that I can talk about in United. Sometimes they play on the counter. Sometimes, they are trying to play possession football. That's not working. I seem it's pretty confusing to me. If on one hand they sign a goalkeeper like Onana who is primarily a ball playing goalkeeper, if I may say. So that is very handy for teams who play with a high line. Uh, and when you play a high line, it essentially means that you are trying to control the game more, have possession, right? So, and on the other hand, they buy someone like Mason Mount, who is again a good presser of the ball, someone who's good in transitions. Okay, so it's really very confusing to see what Ten Hag is trying to do. Uh, but yeah, so I felt that if United lost this game, they should have sacked the manager. But again, they have this player in Scott McTominay, who I think is somewhat underrated. Yes, he's not a special kind of player, but then he has been regularly getting goals. If you see his record for Scotland, he was the top scorer in the
Yeah,
Euro
but that's in
qualifiers.
Scotland.
Yeah, but he's been regularly getting goals. That means he has that ability to get goals from midfield. I think
Yeah,
he's
but
he's the top
that's in
scorer in
a
the Euro.
yeah, but that's
So
in a certain style in the way that Scotland they usually play, and also like when you look at international games, the level or the complexity of the play style is like very different from the Premier League. In the Premier
I
League, yes,
agree, but even
Brentford.
he has got goals for United as well. Don't forget that.
Yeah, but that was
I
like
just see
in
when I
the
see him, when
No,
I
he's not a
see him,
striker. He's not a
I,
striker. No.
he's not a
it's
striker,
box
but
to box. I think he's but his I do
exactly.
agree that he's really good going forward rather than playing that CDM role that he
Yes,
used to play.
yes.
But that's more like the reason why I think that that doesn't work is because we don't play that style. And I know that it is confusing. Like we are trying not to just play counter attack, which we used to play in the Ole days, Solskjaer days, and maybe last season as well. We are trying to be more transitional, whether it's pretty similar to how I think Jurgen Klopp is playing. I think the idea is to press from the front, get the ball, and do it, which is also risky. And I think one of the reasons why we've not been able to do that is because we we don't make the pass in the right time. We take too many touches, and that's where, and we don't have like good runners as well. I mean, the reason why Casemiro is getting criticized so much this season is because although he's really good defensively, when you look at transitional play, when you look at how much time you're taking to take the ball and pass it forward, he's really slow and he's not as consistent as he should be. Same with Bruno Fernandes as well, really good player, but the Hollywood pass, that is best
Yeah.
best attribute. He's only going to like his success rate is going to be like what 3 or 4 out of 10 because it's a pass like that. He's not making the simple passes. He's always trying to make that difficult pass. And who is he passing it to? Rashford. Who is he passing it to? Hoyland. I mean, these are not like established players in the Premier League, or in the world of football who are going to take the ball and make the right decision. So I think it's sort of like a combination of inexperience and trying to change the style of play uh, too soon, or maybe like they're stuck in the transitional time where they're going from a counter attack team to a transitional team or a high pressing team where it is not happening. One other thing that I would like to say before I move to Jishmeister is I saw the Zlatan interview with Piers Morgan, and he was asked this question by Piers that, what are your thoughts on Eric Ten Hag? And one of the things that Zlatan said, and again, I'm not saying that I agree with him, but it was just an interesting thing that he said that Eric Ten Hag comes from Ajax. If you look at Ajax, Ajax is known for young talent. Ajax is known for building players, right? So there is a certain temperament of, being the boss of young players and sort of schooling them into a style of play, which is very different from Manchester United. In Manchester United, the expectation is to win from day one. In Manchester United, you get to manage players like Cristiano Ronaldo, David De Gea, Harry Maguire, who are always going to be talked in the media, and they are by default bigger than any other player and the manager, right? So I think he's also like inexperienced when it comes to managing these players right off the bat, and that's something that you will only learn through time, right? The more he spends time with the club, he's going to understand that. Because if you look at I think Eric Ten Hag also believes in new players or the players that he signs. I mean, if you look at the pattern, he got rid of Ronaldo. He doesn't play Harry Maguire. He got rid of David De Gea. He got the Sancho incident as well. He seems like a disciplinarian, but at the same time, there's this backlash from the players because these players have sort of ran the locker room for a long time. They got Mourinho sacked. They had issue with Solskjaer as well, and now it's almost like it's. I think the reason why I'm still content with Manchester United this season,
But
and
who
I'm
do you think is the bad boy in that dressing room?
there are a lot of players. I mean, Sancho definitely. Now that the cat's out,
Okay, I mean Sancho definitely did not get rid of Mourinho, right? So if
no,
I
that was
have to, if you
Pogba.
have to pick one,
That was Paul Pogba back then, right? What I'm trying to say is that this pattern is sticking.
okay.
Whether somebody's getting substituted by some other player, I don't know, but players are running the locker room, and the power is not with the manager. And I hope that this time the power stays with the manager. I don't care who's right or wrong. I trust me. I don't care if
Yeah, I
Jadon
think
Sancho.
I have to agree with you. I think I have to agree with you. Whenever a United player, is talking to the press, I
Yep,
never hear them praising their manager.
correct.
When I see a lot of players giving interviews and they're always speaking highly of their manager and how
Right.
they brought them together. But this is not something that I have seen with United over the years.
Hmm.
Except maybe in Solskjaer era, there were some players who were
Right.
very kind of loyal to
Harry
him.
Maguire.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But other than that, I don't see players talking very highly of the manager. So I think
Right.
you've made a right point there.
Yeah, and I think it's going to take time, and that's why I'm. See, look, United is already written off this season. Um, we are not going to challenge the league, right? I think all three of us can agree that United are not going to be challenging this league. What we can do is maybe survive enough to challenge for the fifth spot, which might be for the Champions League. Uh, but other than that,
Fifth, fifth will be Champions League.
yeah, this season, yes.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. Of course.
So maybe that's something that we can look forward to. Other than that, I don't know, maybe win the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup again. Because let's face it, Champions League is going to be tough for us. We might be in the Europa League pretty soon, based on the two matches that we have played, and we've lost at Old Trafford with Galatasaray as well. So it's going to be a difficult season again. What are your thoughts, Cheshmeister, on? So I think again, this is my personal thought, but I think both Arsenal and United overachieved last season. But Arsenal, I mean, yes, they have made good signings, but they are still in that conversation of uh, challenging for the title, in that conversation of being in top four, in that conversation of doing well in the Champions League, whereas Manchester United have dropped off. Why do you think that has happened?
It's down to simply one thing: ownership and management. I'll tell you why. Right now, if you look at the world of European football, and this is not me just saying this as an Arsenal fan. You can fairly look at the power rankings and see that um, maybe Manchester City and Real Madrid. These are probably the only two teams that are probably better than Arsenal over the past 12 months, consistently over the past 12 months. Maybe we don't have important silverware to show for it, but we have been consistently good. The reason is the entire show is run by Mikel Arteta. Whether it's us singing, all the fans, the players, the training staff, the cooks, the chefs, the owners, everybody's in sync with what Mikel Arteta is doing. We sing, North London forever every home game. Everybody's in sync. We love what's happening, whether we lose, we win, we may question, we may criticize, but we're all in it together. There's a togetherness, there's a harmony that exists.
Yeah.
And that has come from the ownership's trust in Mikel Arteta that, you do what you need to do. We are here to back you. Throughout, you finish a project, and we're going to see you through, and we're seeing dividends come through it. We haven't seen the silverware come yet, but we're only improving. The team is improving. We don't have to go on constantly restarting our project, right? It's taking time, but there's a feel good factor to it, and that feel good factor can only come when everybody's working in unison. Pierre Aubameyang was not in unison. He was shown the door, just the way Ten Hag wants to do it. But I guess Ten Hag does not have the same level of support and backing and feel good factor in the hierarchy of Manchester United and its management, upper management, that he can pull off what Mikel Arteta did. Not saying that Manchester United was going to win the league the following season or win the Champions League, but at least you would see there would be some light at the end of the tunnel. It wouldn't be just, oh, what are we going to do? We're going to lose another 4 or 5 games. Maybe let's restart the project. No, it doesn't matter if you guys finish sixth or seventh this year, but there has to be some progression. There has to be a game plan which you can realize, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what phase we are in. That's what I would say.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I get the sacking the manager is the obvious choice part, but that's just hitting the reset button, right?
Exactly.
And we've done it like even in Manchester United, we've done it so many times that I even if he does something wrong and I can see it and we are on a losing streak, I will never sack or I would never go for sacking the manager at least this season, regardless of how bad we play, because I don't know what the resolution is. The club is for sale. I don't want to get a new manager before new owners, if we get new owners. And I just feel like even if we sack him, who are we going to get? Deserby? It's the same thing. It's going to be the same thing all over again. We are going to humiliate another manager again uh, with Manchester United. Manchester United won't improve, and that's going to be the end of it. And I don't think sacking is going to you know like sort of resolve it. Whereas if you back the manager, even if we finish seventh, eighth, or whatever, like Chelsea last season, we at least know that these are the rules. This is how it works, and we can progressively it's probably going to get way worse before it gets any better, but it
Exactly.
will get better.
But
Same thing
what
with
about the
Chelsea.
style? What about the style that you associate United
It
with,
takes
right?
time, Bonk Scouser. They don't have a set 11 players. They don't.
No,
For the past
I mean, Ten Hag already had a season before this, right? Where
But we
where
played
he
counter attack football. Like it was,
and he doesn't
it
want
was.
to play that style of football anymore. He's
He's
changing
trying
the
to change.
goalkeeper.
He's bought players like Onana and Mount, who are not just counter attacking players, but Onana is shooting balls from the back right now. Why? Because you have Harry Maguire and Lindelof, and maybe someone who's not built to play in that style, in that playing from the back style or keeping possession like Brighton, right? So it's not happening. He's got some of the pieces right, but in cohesion, whether it's through injury, whether it's into
but the
based
fact
on
that he's changing his style after
yeah.
one season, that doesn't do him any favor,
No,
right?
no, 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 no. All
Because
managers do that. So when Arteta took over, I can attest for it because I've seen Arsenal, go through these same similar paces. When Arteta joined, we were completely counterattacking. You will remember we won the FA Cup in his first 6 months. We beat Chelsea, and they were pretty much in their pomp at that time, and we beat Manchester City. We were playing counterattacking football. Come next season, we still continue to play counter attacking football because we still we needed a huge squad overhaul, huge. It was not going to be possible to do it over just 1.5 seasons. The season after, we started playing attacking football when you know we saw the likes of Saka, Martinelli, and I think that was the season where we still played with Aubameyang, but he was really poor, and we started using Nketiah. And then what happened last season? We had Jesus, and we've been controlling possession. And now we're changing. You do adapt and you evolve with the teams, but a team like Manchester United that's hit the rock bottom for such a long time, it requires patience from the fans, from the upper hierarchy. Because listen, fans also feel the tension. If the ownership was strong, it was good. If the fans recognize this ownership as that, okay, these people care about the club and its history and what it's going to do, they could have come out and say, listen, Mancunians, we need you to be patient. This is going to be a project. We're going to do everything in our power to support the manager, bring in the players that we need to. We're going to create, we're going to invest heavily into the infrastructure of the club, not have this uncertainty about selling the club at every. It's just ill managed. There's a bad feeling hovering around. There's a dark cloud over that club, and till this ownership goes away, putting your attention on the manager and the players, you're just papering over cracks and you're just eating bread instead of croissants. It's not going to help you. Trust me, you're not going to be able to replace that bad feeling. You need to get rid of that ownership, or maybe they hire, outsource their own duties to somebody that is really good, can get the job done.
Yeah, and I think even if they fail to sell the club, if they want to keep it, they need like a good director of football who actually understands football. So you get football people in the middle that connects
Exactly.
the owners
We
to
we
football.
got
I think
Edu,
that's
right?
something. Right,
Josh Kroenke and Stan Kroenke don't make any more footballing decisions. It's
right.
Edu who does all of that, and on the pitch, it's Arteta.
Hmm.
So I don't think United has that right now. I don't think they have a sporting director.
Yeah,
I think
we do have a director of
Rangnick
football, but yeah,
Rangnick was brought in to become the
and
sporting
he was
Let
director,
fired,
wasn't he?
and he was fired before Eric Ten Hag came. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Was he fired or was did he
He was fired.
resign?
No, I think he was fired. He was fired. So that's another Glazer call as well. So yeah, I completely agree with you guys. But uh, before I wrap up the session, one question for both of you: what do you think is going to happen to Eric Ten Hag this season? Um,
I think he'll lose his job. I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you why. Not that I want him to lose his job, but because I think he is the man. He has, a spine that this United team needs. He is not afraid of, getting rid of Cristiano Ronaldo, big characters. That's what you
mhm,
need in a club like this. It needs proper cleansing. And he is that guy who would be, your Mr. Clean, that's going to clean up this team.
but you think
So
that the owners are going to?
They'll react.
Okay.
They'll see their stock
so
prices going down.
I think before the owners, I think the first of all, I think the owners hardly care about this club because they are looking to sell the club. Right. So I don't think they're looking for suitors. So they
True.
hardly care about this club. But what concerns me is that whether the fans have that much patience, whether the fans really understand they need Eric Ten Hag.
Mhm,
I think that's where I think that's where it'll go down to, because I
right.
think when it comes down to if these results continue, I think eventually you're going to see another fans crying out in the stadiums, sack Ten Hag, and then eventually that'll happen. Yeah.
Right.
And then who are you going to bring in? Who?
I have an interesting take on this. I think he won't get sacked. And the reason why I think he won't get sacked is because I feel Manchester United cannot afford to sack Eric Ten Hag from a financial point of view. So what I mean by that is, we all know about how United, they don't have money to buy players, right? And I'm pretty sure like when you're sacking a manager before the contract ends, you'll have to compensate them. But also, if you get a new manager in, they would want their own players, right? They would want their own coaching staff or whatever, right? So there is a financial like requirement when you get a new manager in, whether it's to relieve the previous manager or to get the new recruiting staff, to get the players that they want. And I don't think Manchester United are in a position, whether it's due to the sale or whatever the owners want, they might say it's FFP, but whatever, we don't have the financial capability to go for another overhaul next season or in January, regardless of how we play or regardless of how bad Eric Ten Hag performs. And I think that's why it's good for the Glazers to keep Eric Ten Hag for now financially. Of course, if he starts winning matches, it's good for him. But even if we don't, I think the Glazers are not going to pull the trigger on Eric Ten Hag this season
Yeah.
before they sell the club, get that money, and figure the finances out. So I think that he will survive the season, but hopefully, like as a United fan, I hope that this survival also means that we can come up with a philosophy, we can come up with an identity of how we want to play, whether it's counter attack or like high press or transitional play or whatever it is. Because I do feel that we look confused. The players are not being able to you know play all 90 minutes in the way that we want to see. The fans are frustrated, and that definitely needs to change.
The culture needs to change. You're right. You're spot on.
Okay, so with that, it's a wrap for the show. Thank you so much for coming here, Bong Scouser, Yashmeister, and Aitomarik, of course. And yeah, like, subscribe to our channel, and let us know what you think about Manchester United from a point of view of whether Ten Hag survives or not.
Thank you for watching that video. We are a community of passionate football fans, and we post weekly videos on transfer news, match reactions, tactical analysis, and sometimes just gossip on the most exciting sport in the world. If that's what you like to hear, then hit that subscribe button and join the conversation with us.